Darin Van Tassell has shown up. He is on Tom Coughlin time, by the way. And there's DVT hanging out with us from Statesboro, complete with a Christmas tree behind.
We're a very festive group here, John.
Wow.
Very, very festive. By the way, I was on it much earlier than 9:55. I had to listen to you and Jared. You had a show to broadcast, hearing all about the Messi tour. I'm so struck by how tired you think Inter Miami might be. Those plane flights you were describing were just bus rides from Statesboro to Richmond, Statesboro to Knoxville, Statesboro to when we do have games in Tampa and Miami. The guys will be fine. They're pro athletes.
Yes. And they will be laying down in the aisleways of these charter jets with their rollers and everything.
Very, very, very similar.
Oh,
I hope you're well, my friend.
Yeah, getting in opening kickoff, I asked folks where they were in their Christmas shopping. So where are you in your Christmas shopping, sir?
Well, the holiday is close. Nature and I are very fortunate to have the tree up. Very festive folks here. My boys don't get home, my two grown children, until December 28th. We're going to celebrate a little bit later, but listen, every year's Christmas around here.
So, all right, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. And the reason that I wanted to bring you on was because there's multiple topics here. Do you want to hit the hard stuff first, or do you want to work your way into it?
Listen, it doesn't matter to me. This is a great reminder for folks that are listeners. You only have avid soccer fans listen. I don't think pretend soccer fans listen to soccer down here.
Right.
The off seasons are far busier for ownership and management than regular seasons are. We're building rosters. We're having to part ways with some of the folks that are the legends for us. Those are hard things in pro sports. And then we got new schedules, new players to announce. We have our own cup format, and then you get really crazy news. That kind of comes from the world of soccer. These are interesting times, Mr. Nelson.
Yeah, well, Mr. Nelson's my father. I'm just John. You know that. All right. So since you mentioned club legends, Pablo Jara now is in Richmond. He is a kicker. When I mentioned Pablo as a person, not as a player, what comes to mind for someone who is as ingrained in the legend of Tormenta as Pablo Jara is?
Pablo Jara is one of the finest people I've ever met, John. He's a dear friend. Nature and I have our own children. I can't call him a son, but we have that kind of relationship. We did not want Pablo to leave. I think that's a very important part to say. We certainly offered Pablo a contract. But when you're here as long as Pablo's been, you also earn the right to go explore some different experiences. And we wanted to make Pablo completely comfortable that was the case, and both as an ownership group, Nature and I, and Ian wanted Pablo to feel some comfort there. We have no doubt Pablo will be back with Tormenta. He's got a lifelong things to do at some time, but Richmond's going to be very eager to have him. Darren Swatsky is going to do an amazing job with him. And I think Richmond is finding somebody in the locker room that will be a force multiplier for the franchise.
No doubt about it. And we're tracking Pablo down so we can get a 1v1 with him and find out what it's going to be like for him in this new chapter as well. You mentioned new chapters. Keziah Sterling is moving on to the next frontier, and you mentioned player movement in and out. Where do things stand with the ins and outs right now and having to replace another talisman?
I think, for our fans, it'll be very interesting. Normally, we only turn over about 30% of our roster. It was about 80% this year. I think the league average was almost 80%, in both between the League One and the championship. You have the player pool's big, and so we're all sort of fishing in the same place. So we're still building a roster. You move fast. It's not a long off season. There may still well be some familiar faces that come back. Kaz will not be one of them, as much as we would like to have him back. So one of the such exciting parts here is also the part that hurts the soul a bit. And you get players in front office and some coaches who we will, forever follow, and we'll see what's going on there. But listen, you don't have a good offseason without being excited about the guys that you're signing. I think we're up to a total of about 12 that we've signed, and we'll complete that roster here pretty quickly. One thing about the holidays, it'll be Christmas and New Year's, and then it'll be the second week of January, and then it'll be time to report.
You ain't kidding. When it comes to last season in one of the toughest leagues around, because I will maintain that when it comes to the talent pool and the level of competition, USL League One, it is knockdown, drag out. And I mean, you could have a good week and you could be second. You could have a bad week and you could be eighth. When it comes to the lessons of last year as an organization, what do you think they are and what have you learned?
Well, you're right about the league. And I think up and down, whether it's the Championship League One and even League Two, this is a league that is certainly very forward thinking, spending a lot of time trying to get it right. Even when we stub our toes, it's not because we're not seeking to get that right. The play is going up and up and up. From Tormenta's standpoint, we've had 2 years in a row where we got off to a little bit of a slow start. Those are just results, things that we have to fix. I'm not so certain that we need to approach things differently. We have to ask ourselves those questions, but those are forever sports questions, aren't they? And nobody likes being out of the mix. And so when you finish 1 point out of the playoffs, and to that team that you finished 1 point out of also made it to the finals, and the team that wins the finals we beat twice. What a league. This is super fun, and what great champions we had in North Carolina FC, and they'll move up to the championship.
Pro-rel had actually happened in USL League One.
Well, we had self-promotion and relegation twice. But, those are, that's a subject that our league is working on hard to figure out. We've been pretty open about trying to work out those mechanics, trying to think about how can we get there. It's not simple. It's certainly not something you do overnight, but I think we have leadership at our league and owners at our league that are constantly trying to find the ways to make ourselves even more and more relevant. And that's one of them. One of the things that we did in League One this year was to move to a balanced table, which reduced our number of regular season games down to 22. So we added our own League Cup, and we will get that started. It'll just be League One teams playing this year, but it's going to be great fun. We're going to experiment with some new rules and have some fun with that. One of the things that it allowed us to do was to add that World Cup style format in the cup competition, but to not necessarily put an additional strain on our players. So listen, this is fun. We're trying to get ourselves positioned for relevancy. We hope this will be the only year where we're just playing other League One teams, and that there will be others who will come and join us. In the meantime, we're going to make it a great competition and change, some of the format in our League Cup games, and hopefully there's some title sponsors that the league will get to announce soon. And here we go. Welcome to our off season, John.
Yeah, really. There is no off season. You mentioned the cup competition, non-traditional modifications. You mentioned the World Cup style format, 12-team league. You're in the East group with Richmond, Greenville, and Charlotte. The Central group is Chattanooga, One Knox, Lex, and Forward Madison. West group is Central Valley, Northern Colorado, Union, Omaha, and Spokane. And we'll get into
we did our geography a little bit better than some other leagues might have.
Yeah, we got into that in hour number one. We'll get into that with Kaylor coming up bottom of the hour. Emphasis on goals. Goals scored will be the first tiebreaker.
Yeah, how about that? That's a whole different approach. Ask us after a year, how did it work? I'm kind of intrigued by it. We've given it a lot of thought. It may well lend itself to some different ways of doing it, but we're gonna take it out for a test drive.
Yeah, not goal difference, but goals scored. So the first tiebreaker to determine one of the four spots in the knockout. 3 group winners advance. 4th playoff spot goes to non-group most goals scored. Matches that finish tied at the end of regulation go straight to PKs. Thankfully, you don't have to play an extra 30 minutes or anything like that. You go straight to PKs. Shootout winner gets an extra point. Shootout losers still get a point for the draw, but much like the National Hockey League, you get that extra point for being a winner in the shootout. Group play, 8 matches, 4 home and away. So that gives you 22 and 8 gives you 30. And then you play twice against every other club in the group 2 matches and so forth. So it sounds like you're looking pretty forward to seeing how this League Cup will work when you kick the tires on it this season.
We spent a lot of time on this as our ownership group did in the league and our leadership did in the league. It was not thought about lightly. I'm sure we'll add some modifications to it along the way, but we have 30 games, whereas last year we had 32, but we also have a chance for more playoff games. Made an attempt to keep that, firmly on our radar. And it also opened up a little window if folks want to engage in some domestic friendlies or some international friendlies that I think is important in our league too. And listen, it's a fun time to think about the best way to put things together. We're not the only ones experimenting. When Major League Baseball shows up with the pitch clock and runners on second base and extra innings, and the NBA's got their own in-season tournament. Clearly, fans are what we are about. Ours is a fan-driven league, and so here's our effort to really speak to those kinds of things.
Darin Van Tassell, co-owner and president of South Georgia Tormenta, hanging out with us here to break things down in USL League One, and especially with what's going on in Statesboro. I can't let you leave this entire interview without discussing what happened with the Open Cup decision and Major League Soccer. As of right now, it looks like it's only going to be the MLS Next Pro sides that are going to be competing from an MLS perspective. What has been the back and forth, what you can disclose and divulge from your conversations with other USL League One / USL types about this decision?
I think the league put out a really important statement, and I don't want to be coy and saying, well, I'll just refer to the statement. I think this is our national cup. It's our national tournament. It's 108 years old. It's about our fans. Our league is about the importance of local soccer, and we will certainly stay true to those sorts of things. I think our National Cup is an honor to be a part of, and I think U.S. Soccer has been dealt with some really tough decisions about how to respond, and so I will absolutely wait until for them to give a more detailed response. I don't think we were the only ones taken off guard by such a decision. Just living in the world of social media, I don't think fans are terribly excited about those sorts of things. But listen, we, again, not to be coy, we have tons of things to sort of take care of in our own league and our own house. Playing in the Open Cup and the tradition of the Open Cup is certainly a big part of all pro teams that play in the United States. It's part of our standards. And again, I think we'll sort of wait and see what U.S. Soccer has to say from a formal response.
Yeah, and I think at the same time also, it would not surprise me if Major League Soccer redressed their decision at some point, fairly soon, and worked on some roster expand. I know they initially said that they were discussing roster expansions and things like that to help alleviate that. But I think that at some point they may redress it and figure out, some kind of a solution here. But right now, that's where things stand. But, I had to ask you about how things are with your thoughts on Open Cup.
No, I appreciate it. It was just, 2022. We went our own cup run. I know you got Kaylor coming on a little bit, where he and I first met in person was when Tormenta beat the Legion in Birmingham, and I know he's a big supporter there. So we'll give a little nod to him as he's coming on in a little bit. But there's a lot of magic about the tournament. I think anything that's 108 years old deserves our time, attention, effort, and energy. Our fans clearly like it. I think Tormenta Nation's fans are asking themselves some of the same questions that fans all over the U.S. are asking about such things. So Let's see. I don't know. I'm not sure what U.S. Soccer's reaction is going to be.
Yeah. How's the stadium coming along?
We, in the past 3 weeks, have moved 235 truckloads of gravel. There's so many ways to measure progress. I've seen the receipts. So the parking lot and the street lights are going up. What a fun year 24 is going to be for certainly Tormenta, but I think fans interested in soccer at our scale, watching the steel come out of the ground and what we're putting together. I do think most folks probably don't have a great sense of just how nice our stadium feel is going to be, and the surprise that they're going to see is one I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, and it's been fun to see things develop where it's not just the stadium, but the environment around it and all of the investment that's being made by the university and by retail and all this kind of stuff. Like we've been talking about, one of the hallmarks of USL Championship League One franchises, it's the whole live, work, play environment.
Right.
And you're finally getting the chance to see that on the other side of the COVID year and losing that time to development and investment and so on.
There's lots of ways to measure this. We can measure it by the number of truckloads of gravel. We can measure by the Chick-fil-A that's now being built. That's part of this whole piece. The Publix that's open, the crumble cookies that are killing it, the Starbucks that's opening in just a few more weeks. So we've tried to build a stadium district. You and I have had a lot of off-camera conversations about it. This is not Battery Atlanta, but it's the same logic of that. It's a different scale, and it's a fun time to be a part of it. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to make sure we do it. I think when you're building something like this in our part of Georgia and Statesboro and University Town, Savannah's our backyard, and so that's clearly home for us too. You really have to make sure you get it right. It takes us maybe a little bit longer. While this project has incredible support from our state and university and city and county, this is being privately funded, and so that just takes a little more time.
Other thing that I wanted to discuss with you is something very, very cool that came across our desk, and it's the development of the Unified program. And I with the time that Jason, Jarrett, and Nick and I, all of us here at SDH, we've gotten the chance to see the Unified team for Atlanta United, and what that is a part of the developing fabric that you see there. Now that is going to be a part of something with Tormenta. Can you go into that a little bit for us and how the genesis of that idea came to pass?
I think some of the best ideas in our club are really driven by my business partner and roommate. Nitra really got out in front of this one. But it's also an initiative that's being pushed very hard by the USL, and it's such an easy one to get behind. Forward Madison, Union Omaha in League One. Colorado Springs has been a really big pusher in the championship of the USL, the unified teams. And that's where we have, athletes with intellectual disabilities, but also can pair with able-bodied athletes as, on the field, playing 11v11 soccer. It's going to be, from where we stand, John, an important part of our organization. We have an academy. We have a first team in USL, a first team in women's on the W League side. We have our boys and girls USL Academy teams. We have a large academy that sits underneath that, plays everything from recreation to, in various state cups in both in South Carolina and Georgia. But we're not going to have a unified team, and these are athletes who we're going to sign to contracts. They're going to wear the same jerseys as the first teams. And our plan is to really develop an intense home and away series with our rivals in Greenville, and to play a home and away match every year with the unified team, which they've recently announced. I think that format makes a lot of sense. We have really just borrowed from some terrific ideas that Omaha and Madison have done together. And the idea is to play a game after one of those home games with Greenville and Tormenta. It'll be part of every season ticket holder's package. And while the game won't be as long, we'll hold it right after the game at night. There's not a lot of things that everybody across all spectrums can get behind. This is one of those moments. It's going to be fun, exciting, exhilarating. And I think some of the best parts are going to be, all the lead up to the games and the games will be, quite frankly, secondary. But how much fun are they going to be? It's the right thing to do in sports because sports lets us, grow our communities in the way some of the other things in our communities just don't.
The Peach States Derby unified style. I'm looking forward to that.
There we go.
We
may have to add that to the point calculation.
Oh, all right. So you're saying this right now, and Greenville just probably got put on blast. Somebody better tell the Irwins about it.
You'll get them on next.
I know. What is the next thing off the to-do list for 24 that you think you can cross off it?
Oh, wow. That's an important one. Today's my mother's birthday.
Oh, that's big.
So that's huge. And so there's a lot of my favorite people were born on December 19th or got married on December 19th. So I've got, there's a personal life I've got to do, but listen, here's how the ownership works at Tormenta. In our field house is where the players' locker room is on the training grounds. We're redoing things. Nitra's painting the ceilings and the walls. The last several days, that's just how we roll. There's work to be done. I have my John Nelson inspired hoodie on today. When folks listen to this without the Twitch, they're just not going to fully know how good you look every morning.
Oh, I'm stellar.
With those sorts of things. But it really is true. We've got a lot of players still to sign. Listen, we've got coaches scattered throughout not just the U.S., but in various continents this time of year, because our goal on the first teams, both men and women, is to win championships. And mine and Nitra's goal on the academy side is to create amazing experiences for our families that are a part of that, and then help produce players that can matriculate up to the first teams. We get to do both. And in order to win championships, we got to really provide a stable base for doing that. And right now, that involves building a lot of facilities.
And much like Hank Stram, you plan on matriculating right on down the field. Darin, as always, great, my friend, to have you on to give everybody the Tormenta update, because there's a lot of stuff going on in USL League One. Short period of time before early March and the season starts. DVT, it's always great to have you on. You've got golden ticket status, and you can crash it anytime.
Well, I love that golden ticket. I keep it right in my wallet. I'm a front pocket wallet guy.
You and me both, brother.
It just fits there better. And listen, I'm going to sign off and stay and listen to the rest of your guests. I'm a big fan of the USL show. I'm a faithful listener, and since you have them on today, listen, I'm already a faithful listener to yours. I get 2 for 1 this morning.
No doubt.
So you guys are going to be in the background while I'm still getting some work done.
Yeah, while you and Nitra are painting, everything's going to be going on with
She paints. I'm not a good painter. I'm not good there.
I'm not either, brother. But we'll catch up soon, my friend. Thanks for hanging out.
All right, pal.
All right.
Happy holidays. Cheers.
Back at you. It's DVT.